Guru, made for you.
This is lesson 9-2, the substitution method. So in the last video, we learned about the graphing method. Now we're going to learn about the second method to solve a system of equations, which is the substitution method. Now let's try to graph this system of equations right here. 2x plus y equals 9, and x minus 1 equals negative 2y. So let's graph this one first. 2x plus y equals 9. So y is equal to negative 2x plus 9 if we put it into slope-intercept form. So that means our y-intercept is at positive 9. So we put a dot at positive 9, and it's negative 2, so the slope is negative 2. And now we draw our line. So that's our first line. Now we draw our second line. X minus 1 equals negative 2y. So that means that negative 2y is equal to x minus 1. So we just flip them around. It means the same thing. So that means that y equals negative 1/2 x plus 1/2. Because negative divided by negative is positive. So it's y is equal to negative 1/2 x plus 1/2. So that means our y-intercept is at 1/2. So we'll put a dot right about there. And then negative 1/2 x, so it's 1 over 2. Another dot right there. Another dot right there. Another dot right there. And we draw our line. Uh-oh. The lines don't intersect at a perfect point. They intersect in somewhere in the middle. It could be halves, it could be thirds, it could be 15ths. So we can't solve this by graphing. So how do we solve it? Well, that's why there's another handy way to solve a system of equations called the substitution method. And so how do you use this substitution method? Well, as the name might say, you substitute values. So we have our two equations right here. 2x plus y equals 9, and x minus 1 equals negative 2y. So that's our two equations. So basically, what we do in this one is we substitute values of one equation into the other. So let's try an example. Let's try this one again. So what we need to do is we need to look for variables that have a coefficient of 1 or negative 1 so we can isolate them. So if we look at this equation, we would want to isolate the y here because it has a coefficient of 1, not the x because it has a coefficient of 2. And if we chose this equation, we would want to isolate the x because the x has a coefficient of 1, not the y because it has a coefficient of negative 2. So I'm going to choose the first equation. So 2x plus y equals 9 is the same thing as y is equal to negative 2x plus 9. So we're basically just isolating it. So if we chose to isolate the y, we would put it in slope-intercept form, basically, because we're isolating the y. If we isolated the x, then it would be x equals something, 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 because we're isolating the variable. Since you're isolating, if you had a coefficient of negative 2, for instance, you would eventually have to divide by that negative 2, and you might end up with fractions, and fractions are hard to deal with. So you would want to choose a coefficient of 1 or -1 because dividing by -1 is easy. You just change the sign. So now we have y equals 2x, -2x plus 9. We know what y is. We know that y is -2x plus 9. So basically, what we do is we just take this value for y and we substitute it into the other equation. So we substitute it into this equation right here because we have another equation. So let me scroll down. So since we know that x minus 1 is equal to -2y and y is equal to -2x plus 9, we substitute this -2x plus 9 for the y. So x minus 1 is equal to -2, choose this one, -2 times -2x plus 9. Now that we have one variable, we know how to solve this. So we do x minus 1 equals 4x minus 18. So we get, if we move this x over here and this constant over here, we know that 3x is equal to 18 plus -1 is 17. So 17 over 3 is equal to x. And 17 over 3 is also 5 2/3. So does that make sense for our x value? For our x coordinate, if we come back to our graph here, 5 2/3, they intersect at almost 6. So that kind of makes sense, 5 2/3. So you come back. And now to find the y value, all we do is we just plug it in for y. We just plug in this x value for y. So 2x plus y equals 9. So 2 times 17 over 3 plus y equals 9. And 9 is also known as 27 over 3 because 27 divided by 3 is 9. Since we're dealing with thirds, it's good to put that one in thirds. So we get 17 times 2, which is 34 over 3 plus y equals 27 over 3. So if we subtract 27 minus 34, we would get -7. So the final answer is y is equal to -7 over 3. So x is equal to 17 over 3, and y is equal to -7 over 3. Now let's look at the graph again. -7 over 3 is also -2 1/3. So does that make sense for our x-coordinate? It's a little bit under 2. It's like right over here. It's where they meet, like right over there. It's a little bit under 2. It's almost to 6. So these make sense. So the final answer, our coordinate, our solution to this system of equations is 17 over 3, comma, -7 over 3. And that is our final answer. So let's try another one. Let's try this one. Let's try a is equal to 3b and a minus b is equal to 12. Well, we know what a is. A is 3b. So all we have to do is substitute it into the second equation. Easy enough. All we do is a, which is 3b, minus b is equal to 12. So 3b minus b is 2b. So 2b is equal to 12. So b is equal to 6. B is equal to 6. Now if we plug it in again, we get a is equal to 3b. So a is equal to 3 times 6, which means that a is equal to 18. So we don't have x and y. Usually when we put a coordinate, we do x comma y. X comma y. Well, we have a and b here. How do we do that? Well, when we have different variables than x and y, we put the letter that comes first in the alphabet first, and the letter that comes last. So you would put a comma b, because a comes before b in the alphabet. So the final answer would be 18 comma 6. That is our answer. Okay, let's try a harder one. This time we're gonna have 3 variables: x plus y plus z equals 180. Y equals 3x. Z equals 5x. How do we do this? We have 3 variables and we have 3 equations. How do we do this? Well, let's try substituting. We know what y is. We know what z is. And they're all in terms of x. So all we have to do is plug it into this first equation. So if we have that x plus 3x plus 5x equals 180, that means that x plus 3x plus 5x is 9x. Because they're all like terms. We combine them, we get 9x equals 180. So x is equal to 20. And that's our final answer. X is equal to 20. So now that we know what x is, all we do is plug it in. So we have y equals 3x. Y equals 3 times 20. Y is equal to 60. We have z is equal to 5x. Z is equal to 5 times 20. Z is equal to 100. And we can check that by plugging it in. We know x is 20. We know y is 60. We know that z is 100. 100 plus 60 plus 20 is 180. 180. They check. So we put x is 20, y is 60, z is 100. And that's how you use the substitution method to solve a system of equations. Thanks for watching this video. Guru.